Good afternoon. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners Check-In for Monday, March 18th, 2024. It's 2:01 p.m. My name is Ty Menzer, Chair of the Board. To my left is Vice Chair Commissioner Fournier, Commissioner Edwards, Commissioner Klaus, and Commissioner Mejia is joining us via Zoom. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. We do have a 2.5-hour time slot. We do have one executive session that will last for a full 60 minutes is what's scheduled. And then picking back up with other items on today's agenda. Item one was welcome to our new county manager, but I don't see him.
We don't see him on.
We just tested the link to make sure it worked and it's working.
We also have these.
Okay, and
Okay.
I think Rob had sent him the,
There he is.
aha.
Okay. All right, so the first item up is just a quick welcome to our new incoming county manager, Leonard Hernandez. He's here to join us and listen in on Commissioners Check-In today, but since this is the first time we've had him at a formal board meeting, we just want to say hello and maybe go around the room, let you know who's here, and give you, a second to just introduce yourself to the group as you wish. Of course, I'm Ty. We have go around the room.
Wayne Fournier, County Commissioner. Welcome.
Gary Edwards.
Emily Klaus, it's good to see you. We're excited to have you. So welcome.
Thank you.
Robin Campbell.
Camera's a little slow as we go around. We'll go to the PIO back there.
Okay, Megan Porter, I'm your communications manager.
Hi, Amy Davis, clerk of the board.
Brandy Morena, administrative assistant.
Dalia Fonseca, the senior management analyst.
Welcome, you're new.
Yeah, she's new today, so.
It's also her first day. Welcome.
All right, very good.
Nicole Martinez, budget and fiscal manager.
And behind you,
Jenica Machado, economic development manager.
Matt Rounsley, Executive Assistant to Wayne.
And Rick Thomas, I'm the Central Services Capital Project Program Manager.
Okay, so Leonard, welcome.
well, and Commissioner Mejia, of course.
Oh yeah, sorry, Commissioner Megan's
On
here
the
too.
screen.
I know she's got another meeting too.
No worries. I'm sorry. I'm multitasking over here. I'm in the middle of 2 meetings, but Leonard, good to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much, commissioners, and thank you for having me join this meeting. I'm really looking forward to joining the team starting in a couple of weeks, and I appreciate the opportunity to sit in and to listen. I look forward to meeting all the wonderful staff. I've received a lot of warm welcomes, and my family really appreciates that, and we're in the thick of all the moving items and looking at moving our way up there, so we're very excited all the way around. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Real quick, maybe I'll just kind of say a commissioner's check-in. This meeting was typically for the board to share things that have gone on in our assigned committee meetings where we're separated out and we report back to the board and talk about any sort of burning items, because before we had 5 of us, when we had 3 of us, this was the only opportunity we had to share any issue that had come up from a constituent. The way we have our new board structure now, these are decision-making meetings, so sometimes there's pending decisions that are put here that came up at other things and that need decision. So it's kind of a grab bag of different items. There's always a standing section where we can give board reports on external boards and committees. And we always have a standing commissioner item, which we usually have time for. Every now and then we run out of time for that piece. But today we've got 3 or 4 items to address. And the first one is an executive session. So let's go to that. And this is an executive session pursuant to RCW 4231.10.1B to consider the selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of increased price. Purchase of a building is at issue. It's approximately a 60-minute session. Formal action may follow this executive session. It is now 2:05, so we will be in executive session until 3:05.
All right.
Okay, it's 3:09 PM. We are back out of executive session at the Board of County Commissioners check-in for this Monday, March 18, 2024. We have finished that item, and we do have, I believe, a motion that is going to be made. So I'm ready to hear that motion.
I move that we authorize staff to enter into a real estate purchase and sales agreement, is that the right word? On a specific property to produce an RFP, looking for available properties, and then to do additional research on a second potential real estate site.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Edwards.
At no expenditure of public dollars at this point.
Correct.
And I would just clarify the first piece of that motion, entering into a purchase and sale agreement. It's a preliminary step. We're not committing to the purchase at this juncture.
That's correct.
It's pursuant to some contingencies that will unfold while we
Yes.
pursue the other elements of the motion. Anything else for discussion purposes? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, we have 4 in favor and 1 abstention, so that motion carries. Okay, thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Next up on the work session, on the check-in agenda is Department of Commerce Early Learning Facilities Grant.
Yes, Commissioners, you may recall that on March 12th, I let you know that the county was successful in our application for a grant. Jenica is here with us to tell you any details that you might like to know. But basically, the grant is for pre-design work, of converting Building 7 into a childcare facility. What I've asked the board is, are you serious about going in that direction? Because our next steps would be to secure a partner who would be the provider of childcare, because we need that expertise to weigh in the pre-design work. And then we would use the grant money. We'd want to accept the grant, find a provider partner, and then contract for the pre-design work. Those are at a very high level, the next 3 steps in this process. And Jenica can help fill in the blanks. But if you're not serious about going down this path with Building 7, now is the time to tell us.
I would just add the pre-design, we had a bid provided by TAS A&E company. And in that bid, the pre-design would cover the concept level design, schematic design, design development, construction documents, bidding and permitting, construction administration, and project closeout. And so they would do the estimation of how much the construction project in full would cost, so that we have those figures.
Right, and right now, we have no idea where the construction funding would come from. We would have to continue to do grant applications and be successful. We do not have any county money squirreled away for a childcare facility.
Yes, the grant that we were awarded, the early learning facilities will have another round, I believe, starting in 2025, and then they also provide awards for capital projects. And so that could be another avenue that we do another grant submission at.
How much money is this grant that we're talking about?
It's 20,860.
890.
Yeah.
21,000.
Is it enough to do the job?
To apply for the pre-design grant, we had to submit a bid that was backing up the amount that we requested. And so the bid that we had came in at that amount. And that was also close to the max that the pre-design award would even be provided at.
I guess my question would be, why would we not move ahead if we're interested in providing childcare.
I think she's saying if we're actually interested.
Yeah, I mean, are we interested? That's what,
When you find a partner, a childcare partner, what does that relationship look like? What does that process look like? Because we don't have the construction money. I understand that that's how it works sometimes. We plan this out and sometimes it takes longer, but if we're signing some type of agreement with somebody, are we paying them money? What is it, how does that work?
So I think that this is an opportunity for a classic public-private partnership where the public provides the space, the provider provides the service, and there may or may not be some type of income sharing agreement in the long run, but the provider would basically reap the profit. The
We help make it
public
affordable for
benefit,
them to be there.
right, the public benefit is that the part of the requirement of the grant is that at least some of the spaces have to be available for people who qualify for Working Connections childcare, subsidized childcare in the state of Washington. And the part of the thinking is that we would make some of the spaces available to county employees. Whether or not you want to subsidize those spaces is a different conversation that we would need to have with Maria. But we know that our employees need childcare. It's hard to find in Thurston County. It's very expensive. And so part of the hope is that we're able to help out some of our staff in the long run. What's our obligation? We don't know yet. That's we would be making this up as we go along. I would tell you absolutely, in my opinion, the county does not want to be a childcare provider. We want a contract for that service.
But if we've got money to put the plan together and then we have to find some private partner that can help us create the plan, that's an expert in childcare facilities, but then we don't have construction money. I mean, in that agreement, are there obligations that we owe to this private company? I mean, I guess we're making it up as we go along.
We are totally making this up as we go along. I see Commissioner Mejia might have ideas.
Go ahead, Commissioner Mejia.
Thank you. So I agree with Robin. We've been making this up as we go. I really, first of all, just really want to thank Jenica for being really proactive on this, as well as, we've had DCYF come through and kind of let us know what it is that we would need. I feel like this gives us an opportunity. I mean, this building and the plan that was laid out was not going to be used, and we know that childcare facilities is something that we really need, but also 24-hour service. This conversation came up because right now in corrections, there is a decline in female corrections officers, and there was a concern from the sheriff that it's going to be hard for them to be able to run the jail without having female corrections officers in the future. And so a lot of the encumbrance was childcare. And so that's where these conversations started. It started with the EDC as well. So they've been involved in these conversations. And just again, thanking Jenica for being so proactive. I know she's been looking at different avenues where we could possibly close these gaps when it comes to construction money. And I think this is a really good first step in accepting this grant and seeing kind of like where this leads us and what else we would need to do.
Do we have any idea on that building, how many square feet that are in there that relate to the amount of space that the state might require for each participating kid? Do we have any idea that maybe if we do this, there's enough space there for 10 kids, there's enough space for 25 kids?
I did a walkthrough with DCYF and the state fire marshal. And it's really gonna depend what age group we're saying. Is it all infants? Is it a mix of birth to 13? But depending what ratio we do on things, it could be around 100 slots.
100 kids?
It's a big building for this kind of thing.
100 people? Well, 100
That's
little
what they
people.
told me. I mean, I am not the expert, but that is what the
It would
expert.
I'm just
depend
saying.
on how we remodel
I
the
mean,
building.
but to me, that kind of a number certainly makes it worthwhile. Where if you had said, well, you can only
Dealt with
have
100
20.
kids?
Huh?
You ever dealt with 100 kids?
Well, I'm not gonna be the child care person, but if it was gonna
post-retirement
be for
gig.
20 kids, I'd say, well, gee, I don't know. if it's
I've been
worth
in
it.
that building and I would find that to be shocking.
Yeah, I can't believe, I've been in that building too, and that's what I'm saying.
I
That's-
mean, the state fire marshal note says at 4,500 square feet, occupant load is likely to be greater than 100. If that's the case, then he talks about the sprinkler system. And the DCYF consultant says ages birth to 13, capacity 100 on their report.
Is there
And
anybody,
so that is what I'm
any
going off of.
chance somebody could just stop in at a local daycare? We had a lot of trouble with the daycare down in Rochester, and I'm sure they would be glad to see somebody from the county. I took a tour down there a couple of months ago. They'd be able to tell us the rule on something like that, because I'm.
So could
So
DCYF.
that is exactly why we need a partner before we do any kind of design work.
But- and then,
We've got to know
uh,
what they need. And
Going back
we
to
don't-
how do we select a partner? Do we go out with an RFP?
We would go for an RFP for a partner that would be the provider, yes.
Okay.
Would absolutely be through a competitive process.
I think the only other piece I want to highlight, as Robin had mentioned, that part of this is having dedicated slots for the Working Connections childcare, is that we also are indicating by accepting this that we intend to enroll in the DCYF Early Achievers Program, which is a quality rating improvement system for childcare facilities. There's no cost, it's just something that they're able to provide to families. I just want to make sure that that's out there now.
We gotta start somewhere, I guess.
All right.
30%. 30% of the fee.
Go ahead. I'd like that to carry on.
Okay,
So
what is-
I'm hearing support that will say yes to the grant and put out an RFP for a provider.
That's kind of where I'm at. We'll never figure it out if we don't look outside, see what's.
Can I jump in and ask a question? Who are we going to be seeking help to, kind of write that RFP? Are we gonna connect with the Child Care Action Council or the EDC?
Gary provided a letter of recommendation for our application. I'd be happy to circle back with him to see if he can help with an RFP.
Okay, so you need a thumbs up to proceed from the board?
Yes.
And I'm gonna abstain from this vote, but we have 4 thumbs. Okay, that means you got majority.
Okay, thank you.
Going down the childcare path.
All right.
Makes me nervous, but okay.
Next up is reports on external boards and
Uncle
commissions.
Gary's child.
And Commissioner Klaus, why don't we start with you? Any external boards you want to report on?
No, not today.
Okay, Commissioner Edwards,
Nope.
Fournier?
Attended steady on Friday. We had a presentation from Yelm Parks and Rec about an app that they use that where they can control different waypoints that make a game through virtual reality of the park space in the whole city. And it was actually pretty interesting. And Matt and I might, at a future date, bring it forward to the right folks here to show what that is. But it's a neat way to get people out in the community. And they make prizes that you actually get for going to these waypoints. We held our first South County leadership meeting. So just like the North County cities have been doing for a few years, the big 4 meetings with the county, we're starting to now do South County leadership meetings. which involved the South County cities, basically the District 4 communities. And it was great. We had a good meeting. We were gonna do them every 3 months, and the mayor's asked afterwards if we can do them every month. So that tells me that they got something out of it. We had a meat processing conversation with Carolina Mejia and the EDC, talking about how to find additional funds for the meat processing project. Met with Auditor Hall, Hopkins Ditch fella, CPED, and then toured the Community Action Council in Monarch, their building where they've done some additions, and it was a great tour. And then along with the Shelton Quixote building, and then the Rebuilding Together breakfast.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Mejia, any reports?
Yeah, quite a bit. Okay, where do I start? Attended the Build at Breakfast, and actually David is here. I think there would be a great connectivity with Mark Moffett and our veterans advisory group as we're talking about how to spend that fund down. They stated that they've worked in several veterans homes, so hoping that that connection happens. I attended the chamber event for regional mental health trans solutions and supports, and I think it actually would be a great Board of Health topic in the future. There were great presenters and kind of let us know the state of our, a lot of youth and suicide were kind of the main topics of discussion at that. Went to the Quixote Communities tour in Shelton, attended the Distinguished Leaders event at night. Then after that, just had meetings in regards to just with staff. Commissioner Fournier mentioned the meat processing one. Had attended study. Also attended a meeting with Mindy Rule from the Community Foundation, and we talked about there's actually, so if you all remember the first time we did ARPA and we went through the Thurston Strong, we set aside funding through them for the nonprofits. She's saying that Snohomish has recently done an effort to kind of spend down their ARPA funds. They just entered kind of with their community foundation in Snohomish, and it's in relation to youth mental health. And so we had a conversation about that and seeing if that would be a possibility for us to contract out with them. And as we're talking about what to do with some of the funding that might become available for ARPA, I let her know that we would definitely keep it in mind, and she's going to send in a request so it can be a little bit more official. Attended the Retreat for Partners for Children, Youth, and Family Steering Committee. And we just talked about of course, child abuse cases in Thurston County continue to go up. And the statistics are very, they're very real. And unfortunately, the funding for it has just continually gone down. So organizations are really struggling to provide those services for children, and of course the downward effect of that. I had the honor of attending Ramadan Iftar for elected officials and faith leaders. I want to thank Dr. Kazi for opening up her home and really inviting us and helping us celebrate alongside many Muslim community members. And then attended the Shoots work group today, and we reviewed and went through the ILA, so probably more to come on that.
All right.
That is all.
Thank you. For me, I don't know that I have anything to report. I had a State Building Code Council meeting on Friday. I had lot meeting on Wednesday. I took the Quixote Village tour with my seatmates. Presentation from WASAC today about the opioid settlements. There's some new stuff happening with some of the other lawsuits. They're not probably going to be quite as impactful as the ones we've already gotten, but there was an overview of that. And I had an Office of Public Defense Advisory Committee meeting, which was interesting because of the new caseload standards. And I once again reiterated that there has to be a financing plan for this phase-in, or else it's just not going to be possible at the county financing level. So hopefully that message is heard. I've been speaking everywhere I've had a chance to go. Okay, then next up on our agenda is commissioner items, and the first one up is ARPA funding, housing project funding swap.
So, at our ARPA review last week, one of the things we talked about was the fact that the City of Olympia was not successful at getting a state award for the balance of funding for the Franz Anderson property. And after that conversation where we talked very briefly about maybe there could be something else that we could spend the ARPA money on, free up the money that was earmarked for whatever that project is, and have that instead available for Franz Anderson. Commissioner Mejia started making some phone calls. So, Commissioner Mejia, would you like to talk a little bit about what you found? And then we have Tom Webster here from our housing division. Nicole is at the table, and Diana Aarons, our ARPA analyst, is on the Zoom meeting to talk about what the possibilities are.
So am I to understand there's a Franz Anderson funding gap because of a grant Olympia didn't get?
That's correct.
And what's the magnitude of that gap?
How big is that? And they're hoping that they're successful in this next round, but we won't know for a while.
Yeah, so it's actually, City of Olympia is contracted with Lehigh Low-Income Housing Institute that applied for both Housing Trust Fund and low-income housing tax credits through the Washington State Housing Finance Commission. So they were not successful. Lehigh was not successful in receiving those this year. That is I want to say a $25 to $30 million project. So the funding that they're asking for was substantial in, probably the $10 to $15 million range. I don't know specifically that amount. And so they'll be going back through the funding round next year to apply for those funds, but they were not successful in this year's application process.
Okay. Commissioner Mejia, go ahead.
No, I think Tom can take it away. Like I stated in the previous meeting, I know City of Olympia has been trying to get this funding, but wanted to be sure that we came up with a new strategy in terms of housing, where we could still complete this this project that we've been waiting for funding with other ones. And Tom, I'll pass it over to you. And
okay, great. Thank you, Commissioner. So the Commissioner called last week and explained you were looking to move some funding around. So a possibility that we looked at as an option for your consideration is on your agenda for tomorrow that we talked about is a $2.65 million award to Trillium Housing Southport for the construction of 162 units of affordable housing. That was going to be used local home fund dollars for that project. So the question is whether we could use the ARPA dollars for that project instead and use the local home fund for the Franz Anderson project when that hopefully comes to fruition next year. So I know Diana did some research into that. I saw you sent an email, Diana. I looked at it quickly. It looks like that is a possibility. So that would be 2.65 million of the 3.5 million.
Can you explain why it helps us to have it be home fund, ARPA, not home fund, or vice versa?
At this point, I don't think it makes a difference. Both of them have the target income population is within the requirements of each funding source. My understanding is the ARPA dollars are actually less restrictive on the income. The local home fund must be used for 60% or below area median income, which both projects, that's the target population for both projects.
So the big thing here is we've got to spend the ARPA money. And the home fund money is our money. It's gonna sit in the bank
Until we
as
spend
long
it.
as we need it to, both the county's share and the city of Olympia's share.
So it's a timing issue only.
It is completely a timing issue.
And if we use, so you're saying if we used home fund for
Franz Anderson,
Franz Anderson, we'd have more time to spend it,
correct.
to pull all the other
So we'd
financing
find
together.
out if the state would fund it. If we're not successful in this round, we've got time to go for other opportunities to fund Franz Anderson. We could change our minds about what to do with Franz Anderson. There's a lot of flexibility, where with ARPA, it's obligated at this point in time specifically for a specific project in Franz Anderson. And there are federal rules about once we cross into 2025, there are a whole lot of restrictions about changing obligations. So that's why we really want to spend the ARPA money if we can now, or get it into a project that is defined and moving forward.
Which could be the Trillium.
The Trillium Southport, which is scheduled, they're looking to go to closing of that project at the end of April, with construction starting in May or June.
So really with that, we just need to ensure that they could meet all the federal requirements. And then what is the second potential project, Tom?
Yeah, the second potential project is with the Housing Authority of Thurston County. So this past year, the Regional Housing Council made a preliminary award of just over $1.6 million to the Housing Authority for what they're calling their Sequoia North project. This is for the construction of 32 manufactured homes for seniors, for low-income seniors, at their Sequoia project in Tumwater. So that is scheduled to move. We've reached out to the Housing Authority to confirm their schedule. We haven't heard back from them yet, but the last we understood is they were scheduled to look at closing and starting work this fall on that project.
What is the money that we have dedicated to that?
Again, that is also local home fund for that project. So
But
the
how much
balance,
money did we have allocated to Franz Anderson?
3.5 million.
So we'd have to take both of those.
Yes.
It would be the full 2.65 for Trillium Southport plus 850,000 for Housing Authority on keeping the balance of local home fund.
So I have talked to, Jane Burney was out, but I talked to the Assistant City Manager, Debbie Sullivan in Olympia. They're fine with the swap. Didn't know who to contact connected to the other project, but, you know, I think that could be worked out. Tom's reaching out to the project people. So this would entail some changes in the ILA that we have with Olympia, the ILAs that we were about to enter into for this other project. What else would we have to move around?
Yeah, that's the main thing. So we haven't issued a contract to the Housing Authority. As part of the RFP process that these agencies went through, we let them know the kind of the scope of possible funding sources. They both indicated they're willing to accept federal funds. So they both have the capacity to accept federal funds. So I think that's fine. The AIS for tomorrow, we would want to amend, because right now it states that we would be committing local home funds. So it would be updating the AIS.
So we're looking for a very fast thumbs up, because we had an item on your agenda tomorrow.
Which is now gonna need to be changed.
We would change it to be ARPA funds instead of home funds.
To the Trillium.
To the Trillium project.
Yeah.
Questions from the board?
My question would be, Tom, have we got any type of criteria in place that we would prioritize low-income seniors first from our own geographical area versus imports from out of town?
For the Housing Authority project or
For the housing project that you're talking about right now?
So the Housing Authority would manage that project, so the home funds require that they be low income. The Housing Authority's project is specifically targeted low-income seniors.
Right, low-income seniors, but is there anything in there that says, let's prioritize service to our own local low-income seniors that have been paying taxes here all along, and now they've found themselves in a bad situation and need some help, versus somebody coming from Kansas City and getting to the head of the line because they know how to fill out certain paperwork or something?
So in our contract, we do not have that requirement in our contract. The Housing Authority, my understanding, and I can confirm this with them, is they have waiting lists, they have existing people on there who are from Thurston County that they're working with who are looking for housing. So I believe the Housing Authority already has a list of people who are qualified for vouchers that they would be looking to serve. But I can confirm that with the Housing Authority.
I'd like to know if we're finally starting to pay attention to helping our own before we help everybody else. That's my concern. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Tom? Any concerns about this potential swap? Okay, hearing none, sounds like you can go forward with
Alright.
that.
We'll figure out what we need to do to
Change the AIS?
make it happen. I see David,
Public Health
on
Director
this.
David Bain, you have anything you wanted to add, David?
No, Tom did a great job. I'm here to support and see if there's any other questions for me.
I think we're good.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Start working on that.
All right, next up this afternoon is
Go
Carpenter,
anywhere, Tom.
Carpenter Road request from Quixote Village.
So it's my understanding that many commissioners took the tour of Quixote Village in Shelton. So I am just bringing this back as a follow-up. That tour, of course, was at the request of Quixote Village, but even prior to the tour, the folks at Quixote Village had asked if the county was interested in using our Carpenter Road property to partner with them for some type of a housing project, supportive housing,
It would be
temporary
a permanent
housing.
supportive housing, but using a tiny home model.
Right. So I see Commissioner Mejia's hand up.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I kind of wanted to add to this conversation because I think before we get a little bit too far ahead, I reached out to Josh on last week about this, right? And in regards to like the zoning of this property, because I don't think, at least I know I hadn't thought about this when we were having these conversations. And so, what Josh said is that this is an open space, institutional 21.48 in the Lacey UGA. And so he stated that something like this, to be permitted most efficiently, it would be really good if we did it in partnership with the city of Lacey. And so I think as we move into these conversations, we're going to have to bring the city of Lacey in, especially if we're, I'm not sure with something like this, if this is the way we're going to be moving forward, if the county's going to be supporting Quixote Village in any way, or if it's just going to be them. I know, and so just kind of wanted to bring that tidbit into this conversation because it's been something I've been thinking about.
Thank you, Commissioner Mejia, for bringing that up. I mean, I think one of the first things that staff would like to know is if you're even interested in using that property in this way. Because there are a whole lot of things that the county could do with the property.
I have concerns on what type of housing we would have there. Would it be the high barrier, low barrier, drug rehabilitation, you know, what allowances of conduct are gonna take place? So I need more information before I commit.
Well, it's exactly like the village we have in Tumwater. And I went to the tour in Shelton, and I was happy to go there, but I really didn't need to go there because it was exactly like
Exactly the same.
one I've seen in Tumwater. So they have a really stable model. They do like inspections. I don't remember, Commissioner Klaus or Mejia may remember, but Commissioner Fournier, I think, asked about that, room inspections and whatnot, and that was all done at a totally different level than what you're seeing at, like, say, Maple Court.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. They seem to be really put together. I was impressed.
Yeah, it was.
And my other concern would have to do with prioritizing local folks. You have to be here a year to go fishing. So I don't know why you couldn't have to be here for a period of time to sign up for assistance here. So we don't encourage people to come from all over the country and compound our problem that we've got plenty of people we can help out. I just want to make sure that we prioritize our local folks first. And then hearing what Lacey has to say is a big piece of it.
So can we, I mean, I'm happy to reach out to Lacey. I mean, ultimately, it's a good partner to do that. It's our property, so, you know, within the bounds of the law, we can do what we want, but something like this always has community interest involved, so we should definitely reach out and see what concerns they might have.
Sure. That could be.
Make a recommendation?
Sorry, Commissioner Mejia?
Oh, I was gonna say, can I make a recommendation?
Go ahead. Yeah, we'll get to you in just a sec. Go ahead.
No,
Robin.
no, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead,
Make a
Commissioner Mejia.
recommendation.
Oh, I was just gonna say that if Commissioner Menser is to reach out, that he does it alongside, Quixote, it's Colleen, I just blanked on her name, I apologize. But, yeah, I think just having that partnership, or, I know, Representative Beth Dogley has been very active and she's on the board, so maybe just alongside them. That way, whoever you talk to at the City of Lacey can have a good perspective on what the project is that they're planning, as well as, you know, maybe our interest. That was it.
Okay, so Commissioner Menser is gonna reach out to Lacey in partnership with, I'm sorry, with, who did she suggest?
One of the managers in their project was named
Coyote.
Colleen. I didn't get her last name.
Right. Okay. And then again, it sounds like the board, with some limitations, might be interested in using this property for housing. You may recall that there were quite a few of you may recall that when we were talking about this as a temporary solution to a different housing dilemma we had about, what was that, 2-3 years ago? That there were a number of things that had to be done, infrastructure, zoning. There are a lot of hurdles that we would have to jump. And maybe that's something that staff would need to start to figure out, is what exactly would have to happen to even make it feasible.
My understanding here is we're not doing anything. We're leasing land for $1 or whatever, and it's Coyote Village that has to do all that. This is not a county project. This is not, we're just providing land at a, you know, at a.
They do it all.
Yeah, this is not anything like what we were trying to put together ourselves at with the Ensign Road RV project that we were standing up from tip to tail.
So it's my understanding that Coyote Village had those questions, though, about what would be required. You may be the only person that has talked to them about what their ideas were.
Yeah, so I think Commissioner Menser is correct that, you know, if the county were to do this, that you'd lease that land, it would be on Coyote Village communities to find the resources to install the infrastructure. And my expectation is that they would submit an application. Our RFP is out currently for capital funding, that they would go through our RFP process to ask for some money from the county to support the development of that project. They'd also look for money from the state and other resources, but it would be contingent on them to put the financing together to pay for the infrastructure and the development of the property. But
They've
that
got
they would be
one.
requesting funds through the county through our, the Regional Housing Council's request for proposal process.
They've got one in Ording, they've got one in Shelton, they've got one in Tumwater, so they've dealt with 3 counties already
Yeah.
in terms of permitting and
Right.
all that, so they know the drill, I think.
Yes, but I was here when they developed
That was
the
the first
property in Tumwater, and there was, I would say, concessions the county made to enable them.
Okay. Well, I guess, so if I've been volunteered for the reach out, who is it that you think I need to reach out to, Commissioner Mejia? Is it like the mayor, or you're talking about I should reach out to staff, or what is the right point of contact?
I think both the mayor and their city manager, I'm not sure how hard it is to, probably hard to get them both in a meeting together.
Rick,
That's right.
to talk about this and kind of broach the topic. I'm happy to take it up with the electeds.
Right. So perhaps I could start the conversation with Rick and bring Leonard into it when he arrives.
Yeah, or and I can sit in on that too. You can set up,
Great.
if you set up a time, we'll just maybe
All right.
touch base with Rick, the city manager of Lacey. Okay. We good on that topic then? Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Last up is commissioner items. For anything, we didn't have time this morning. We did our external reports, but is there any other burning topic? Commissioner Edwards?
I see we have a executive session coming up maybe next week, having to do with garbage contract stuff.
Yes.
So who's all invited to that?
That is being set up by Public Works. I can check and see and get back to you on who.
Is it a situation, I know that the vendor wanted to talk to the commissioners, and is that in the works? That's my concern of talking to a vendor in an executive session. I don't think that smells very good.
We will not be talking to the vendor in an executive session. And actually, I think that we've had a conversation with concerns about the vendor talking to commissioners about this at all. Because we are going to be in a negotiation.
No, that's fine. I'm just curious.
They are trying to renegotiate a contract that's already been settled. So, the vendor absolutely will not be in the executive session.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Commissioner Mejia, you got a commissioner item?
Just very quick update in regards to, there was another ARPA item that I volunteered to follow up on, and that was with Pack Mountain. And so they'll be sending us kind of an estimate on where we're at with that, and whether they foresee that they will be able to spend the money or not at the end of the year. So we should be getting that this coming weekend. Once I receive it, I'll pass it on to Robin and Nicole.
Thank you.
Money from Pack Mountain about what?
That's their jobs program, that agricultural jobs program.
yeah,
that
okay.
was
That I was
so
asking
slow
questions
in
about.
getting started.
Got it. Okay. The only thing that I had is just, we have this meeting, I believe, next week, I want to say on Thursday or Wednesday, with DNR.
Yes.
And I have drafted kind of a one-page summary of kind of the notes. I've showed it, I've talked about it with the interim county manager. I will show you the draft I wrote this morning.
Great.
And if you want to show I don't know how the other commissioners want to handle, just to be organized in that meeting. I just thought we could, have a kind of not a script, but an outline, I should say, of what we'd like to cover. And I'd like to show it to the other commissioners in case you would like me to add something to that. We could sort of maybe all agree on an outline of what we want to cover, and then we won't be, and it doesn't have to be me doing all the talking, but if we kind of know what we're trying to cover in that hour, we won't waste time going around and around.
Excellent. So if you'll
I'll provide
send it
that
to
to the
me,
interim.
I can distribute it, and then I'll also be letting the staff from DNR know that these are the questions that we'd like the discussion to be around.
Maybe for Leonard's benefit, we've been going around and around with the Department of Natural Resources in Washington. There's a big chunk of our county that's state forest land, and they manage it for, under trusts for different beneficiaries, and they've been doing that for a very long time. We're down to just little scraps of older forest in Thurston County, and so community activists have gotten our attention and trying to get us to work with DNR to try to get them to avoid cutting what's about 4% of what's left. That's 80 to 100, 120 years old, complex, structurally diverse, carbon dense, all those things, good habitat corridors for wildlife, et cetera. So we've been trying to get them to set aside or at least deprioritize. They're on an aggressive schedule of cutting those varied lands that we're most interested in trying to protect. So there's been a lot of back and forth. State legislature's gotten involved. They actually allocated the last 2 years, they've allocated monies from our Climate Commitment Act to say that the state could go out and buy younger land and then swap them for the older lands that counties asked for protection for. And we applied for that money and we didn't get anything. And and DNR always has a lot of reasons why, very complex reasons why our forest lands aren't appropriate for those programs. So our frustration has gotten to the point, and we're supposed to have kind of a face-to-face with them where they listen to our concerns and try to figure out a plan for moving forward on that issue.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that background. It's helpful.
Yeah, so I've been kind of the lead commissioner on it because my district has a lot of that land in it. And so I'm putting an outline together, and we'll hopefully have a good discussion with DNR on the 21st or 27th, I think it is.
Yeah, 27.
27th. Okay. So with that, is there any other items before we adjourn? No? Okay, we're back at 9 a.m. for agenda setting. Thank you, Leonard, for being with us. Look forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks. See everybody tomorrow morning at 9. We're adjourned.
Right.